Welcome into College Football Now. I am Tom Downey, and I thought we were done with some head coach candidate lists. However, Tennessee felt a little bit differently. They have fired head coach Jeremy Pruitt today. That's mid-January they make the move here, but it's not just because Tennessee went 3-7, although no doubt about it, that played a role. Pruitt's actually been fired with cause as the school is under investigation for NCAA recruiting violations, which means Tennessee is not going to pay his buyout, or at least try to not pay his buyout. This is a pretty rough timing for a move by Tennessee. You're making this move January 18th. National Signing Day, the early period, already over. The later ones coming in. They already hired a defensive coordinator to be with Pruitt this year. We'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. But this is a significant move here by the Volunteers. Now, Pruitt showed a lot of promise in 2019. After a not-so-great 2018 and a bad start, they got things going. They finished the year 8-5. The hype is back around the Volunteers. They start the year 2-0 and then lose 6 straight games and fall to 3-7 on the season. And it was very unclear about Pruitt's future. You throw in the NCAA investigation, and he's gone just like that. And now Tennessee is stuck right back where they've been the past couple of years. Butch Jones was better than Derek Dooley, stuck around a lot longer than Lane Kiffin did, but ultimately it wasn't what that program was searching for. They had, in all reality, a disastrous hire that led to Pruitt because they agreed to a deal with Greg Schiano, and then that got canceled by the fan base, and it was a gigantic cluster of a coaching search. And now they have to do it again in mid-January. So we're going to break down top 10 candidates here in just a second. Before we do, though, if you guys want college football and NFL and NBA videos every single day, multiple times a day, hit that big red button and subscribe. That way you don't miss any of the videos we're going to pump out for you guys every single day here at Chat Sports. Number 10, I had to include him here on my Jeremy Pruitt replacements list here. How about Jason Witten? This popped up around last time with the coaching search, right? That, the report was Jason Witten wants the job or whatever, and then Witten debunked it publicly. I'll throw him in here. There's no way you should ever hire a first-time coach to be your head coach if you're Tennessee. Bring him on the staff? Sure. Head coach? That's really weird. I do want to make a note here, by the way. Peyton Manning reportedly is going to be heavily involved in this search. We'll see what that ends up resulting in. I saw a brief report of Adam Gase. That would be a disaster for Tennessee. Please don't do that. In reality, they also shouldn't do number 9 on my list. That is Jeff Fisher, the former Rams and, of course, former Titans head coach, who has publicly already said he would love the job. I know it's a big-time name. I think you could do a little bit better if you're Tennessee. I saw Bill O'Brien briefly connected. I think he's going to be the Alabama offensive coordinator. That would be a better hire than Fisher and or Adam Gase. But I'm sure all you Tennessee fans out there hoping for someone a little bit better. So this question, I'm going to make it the pinned comment on today's video. Let me know in the comment section who you believe Tennessee will end up hiring as their new head coach. If you get the ad break here, scroll on down and get your votes in. I think a borderline dream candidate for Tennessee would be Luke Fickell, regardless of what ended up happening with the whole Butch Jones ending in Tennessee. I don't know if Fickell wants this job, though, because he is clearly prepared to wait. His quarterback comes back next year. Desmond Ridder is going back to Cincinnati for another season. It'd be a great hire by Tennessee. I would unquestionably call and make him say no, but kind of like some of the other top-end candidates, I'm not sure the Tennessee job, with the timing of it and being under NCAA investigation, makes it the most attractive job out there for these top candidates. Number 7 on my list, this is Tony Elliott, the co-offensive coordinator for Clemson. I think you saw how important he was to the team when things didn't go so great without him being able to call the plays for Clemson against Ohio State. What intrigues me about this gig is that there's been a lot of whispers out there around Elliott to NFL offensive coordinator jobs. Sounds like he's willing to make a jump. I think Tennessee might be the right level, although maybe you don't want to go with a first-time head coach like you just did with Jeremy Pruitt. Number 6 is one of the most intriguing names on this list. That is Kevin Steele, who currently is the defensive coordinator for Tennessee and apparently will serve as the interim coach in the meantime, by the way. This one's weird because Steele was literally just hired as the Tennessee Volunteers head coach. I assume he knew what he might be going into. Is he going to try to leave to go be a different DC somewhere? Is he going to try and just be the head coach next year? It's possible. He was in the running for that Auburn job, which allegedly was a coup attempt and didn't go out quite so well. It's really weird to me. So Steele is the one that I'm really curious to see how much of an actual chance he gets at this job. But he just came on in the DC. Maybe whatever the team hires is forced to keep Steele as his defense coordinator, which in the end, not that bad of a thing. He is pretty good at that role. Now, I mentioned this Tennessee job. You have the looming NCAA investigation, a program stuck in the SEC that hasn't had nearly the success that own fan base and team expects to get. So rate the job for me. Scale of 1 to 10. I think it could end up being one of the best jobs in the SEC. That's not what it's been since the end of the Philip Fulmer era, who, by the way, is also retiring as AD. He will not get to make this head coaching hire. Rate it for me on a scale of 1 to 10. Number 5 now, Billy Napier, who I like a lot. I kind of thought he should have got the Auburn job. They went with Boise State's former head coach instead. I think it'd be an intriguing move. I think this is one of the top young candidates out there. He does have some Nick Saban ties, which may or may not be a good thing at this point for Tennessee fans. But I like him a lot. He's done a fantastic job with Louisiana. I think it'd be a good hire. I do wonder, though, for Tennessee, if there's a different small school coach out there who might make more sense logistically. That is Jamey Chadwell, who, if for those of you who don't know, of course played at East Tennessee State, is from Caryville, Tennessee, which is like a half hour or so, depending on how fast you want to drive, from Knoxville. This would be a homecoming for him. In terms of the fallback candidates who don't suck, I think Jamey Chadwell is a really intriguing one. It's a different style of offense. It would be a bit of a change, but I think Hendon Hooker, the transfer quarterback from Virginia Tech, who was supposed to be the savior for Jeremy Pruitt, it would be a good fit for Jamey Chadwell's offense. Local guy, there are, of course, the ties there. I think that makes some sense if Tennessee can't get one of the other top 3 guys who I think are a little bit bigger names. Now, we've gone through these potential head coach candidate lists all offseason long, and there's another one. Thanks, Tennessee. Gus Malzahn surprised us all going with Brian Harsin. Lovie Smith replacements. I said don't hire Brett Bielema, and then they did hire Brett Bielema. We don't do it just for college football, though. NFL. I mean, they're working through their coaching carousel right now. So if you want to stay up to date on, especially early on, who could be hired by these teams, hit that big red button and subscribe today. That way you don't miss any of our great videos here at Chat Sports. Number 3 is Gus Malzahn, who I think would be a good hire for Tennessee. But Kevin Steele is there as the DC. Is that an issue for one or both of the parties involved here? Maybe, maybe not. He's done something Tennessee hasn't been able to do very successfully in recent years, namely beat Alabama. I think he's plenty qualified for the role. I would have a lot of interest in this one if I'm Tennessee. Now, Gus got a pretty big buyout. He might want to just sit out a year. But I think Malzahn is an intriguing option for the Volunteers, depending on how that relationship is with the current DC for Tennessee, Kevin Steele. Number 2 on my list, and even just like a month ago, he would have been number 1. In fact, in our Auburn video, I mentioned the reality that Hugh Freeze could end up being the Tennessee Volunteers head coach. And it makes a lot of sense. He's had success in the SEC, of course, at Ole Miss. He, of course, got his start really in this coaching world in Tennessee, coaching at Briarcrest High School. He was there for a good 12 years and then made his jump to Arkansas State eventually and then Ole Miss, and now is at Liberty. The reason why he's not number 1 and why I'm not sure Tennessee can actually do it, they're currently under investigation by the NCAA for recruiting issues. That is not the type of job Hugh Freeze can take. If you're going to give him a second chance, isn't it supposed to be a little bit more of a clean program? Which right now Tennessee may or may not be. That's an issue. So if this was just a fire Pruitt because he's bad and not for cause, Freeze would be number 1. Because of the situation Tennessee's in right now, I'm not sure that's something they could actually do. So get your votes in here. Would you give Hugh Freeze another chance? Would the SEC allow Hugh Freeze another chance? Y for yes and for no. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Number 1 on my list, and I think this should be number 1 on Tennessee's list. I don't know if they could actually get him and or if Tom Herman wants the job right now, but why not go Rick Barnes 2.0 but for football for Tennessee? You hire the guy, Texas fired, right? Herman is going to be one of the top candidates until he ends up getting a job somewhere else in the college football level. If you're Tennessee, I think you'd like to have Tom Herman in there. There was the report allegedly that South Carolina had it, or Herman wanted the South Carolina job. I think the Tennessee job's better than South Carolina, even amid the recruiting uncertainty and the NCAA investigation and timing and all of that. So if you can get Tom Herman, you go do it. I'm not sure you can, but if you're Tennessee and you're Peyton Manning, and he's probably going to be heavily involved, of course, I think you at least make him say no to you.